One way that we classify waves is being transverse or longitudinal waves. So a transverse wave looks like this. And a longitudinal wave looks like this. There's a little better one. Now the main difference, the main way that we can pick these out is that in the transverse wave, this one, if we watch just a single point along the spring, in this case I have a piece of tape on a slinky so you can watch that move. That one point on the spring, it's going to move, in this case, left and right from my perspective, forward and backward from the cameras. So toward the camera and away from the camera. But the wave, the disturbance, or the energy, moves from my hand down toward the other end of the spring when I shake this. So the wave is moving this direction and it reflects and comes back toward me. But this little particle, it's moving back and forth in this direction. So we say wave motion and particle motion are perpendicular to each other. In a longitudinal wave like this, there we go, we can see that that's not the case anymore. Our energy, if you watch the disturbance here, starts down by my hand, and if it moves down in this direction, and then comes back toward me. The particle, though, this one coil that has the tape on it, that's also moving back and forth along the spring, so left and right from the camera's perspective. So the particle motion and the wave motion, those are those are parallel to each other for a longitudinal wave. These ones are also called compression waves because we get this area of compressed coils of spring or compressed air or whatever the material is. So we have that area that looks a little bit darker. Well, that's where there's a lot of coils of spring all at the same place, or all closer together anyway. Now transverse waves, since all we have to have is wave motion and particle motion are perpendicular to each other, we could have waves that shake back and forth like this. We could also have waves that shake up and down like this. Either way, that particle is moving perpendicular to the wave motion. We could go at an angle, or an angle like this. We could even go in a circle, something like that, and we get still a transverse wave. Now, typically waves are created in some situations in a mixture of all those different orientations. So light, for example, is a mixture of lots of different orientations of vibration. They're all perpendicular. All the particle motions are perpendicular to their wave motions, but some have vibrations up and down, some have vibrations left and right. If we take out all those vibrations except in one particular direction, say just left and right like this, or forward and backward from your perspective, we call that a polarized wave. So only light in one direction, only waves in one direction are able to pass through whatever filter we've put in place there. Now longitudinal waves, they only have one direction, one orientation that they can vibrate in. So we don't talk about polarizing longitudinal waves, mainly because, well, there's no multitude of directions to cut out. There's no single direction to leave behind. There's always just a single direction. If we have a wave going forward and backward, our particle always has to go forward and backward. There's no other way to do it. So transverse waves can become polarized if we cut out all motion except, say, just forward and backward motion in the spring, or all motion except, say, just up and down motion in the spring. But longitudinal waves, they're always just one type of motion. So they don't become polarized or start unpolarized. They just are that way.